Yo, what's good YouTube? I'm back with another reaction video, and we got the Dream Team 1992 full documentary. Finally we getting into this, man. Shout out to Dark Addict 20, because I know you asked me to do this video. I know I was been going to do it, but definitely was calling it Larry Bird. But yeah, we definitely still going to keep doing the Larry Bird. But I always like to mention that this is a reaction channel, so I will be doing a lot of different reactions also, but probably later down the road though also, because we definitely keep covering the Larry Bird. But yeah, man, shout out to Dark Addict 20 for this video. Well, not really this video. I know he was mentioning it, and I told him I would do it, so that definitely be the next video uploading. But yeah, man, keep it short and sweet, man. Got an instrumental mixtape dropping June 23rd if you want to make some beats. And this Jones probably gonna definitely be maybe part 1, part 2, maybe part 3, you know, depending on how it all goes. But yeah, let's get straight into the video, man. It's like an hour something long, hour and 8 minutes. So yeah, man, let's get into this documentary of the Dream Team. This is, oh man, this is about to be good. Let's get it, man.
Why do people talk about dreams so much in sports? Dream seasons, dream matchups, dream opportunities. They do it because so much of sports is about imagining what you want things to be like. If only the setting were just right.
It was one of those times none of us will ever forget.
The characters just right.
I don't know anything about Angola, but Angola's in trouble.
The timing just right.
11 Hall of Famers. I don't think you can ever do that again, at no point in time.
If only it could all be the way you might have dreamed it up yourself.
Are you filming?
Yep. That was the most exhilarating 15 seconds of my life.
People perceived us as being superheroes.
Please, Michael Jordan!
No Isaiah Thomas stuff.
Thomas question.
Cool. We became a team, and that team just stomped on everybody.
This never happened in sports. Nowhere.
Well, I figured eventually there'd be a movie made about the Dream Team.
This group may well be the greatest team ever assembled in the history of team sports.
God bless you, and God bless America.
20 years can go by pretty fast, and the world isn't gonna stop and wait for you to remember what it used to look like. 1992 was a time of change. New faces in America quickly transforming into cultural icons. None more so than the superstars of the NBA.
The Bulls have repeated. Let the party begin.
After the legends of the 80s had lifted the league's profile to new heights, a fresh crop of players had blown the lid off.
Here's Hewitt.
Robinson.
Their talents and their charisma made them more than just basketball players.
I am not a role model.
They were a new kind of star athlete whose popularity transcended the game.
Is it the shoes?
No, Mom.
And now the very best of them awaited their brightest showcase, the world's largest athletic stage, the Olympic Games in Barcelona, Spain, even if no one truly realized the impact they would make there.
It's a watershed moment in the history of sports, not just the Olympics, not just basketball. It moved the culture along.
But in 1992, not everyone was ready for them. Not everyone thought pro basketball stars had a place in the Olympics.
This kind of thing had never, ever been done. So there was a lot of, poking the bear, if you will, by people in my profession. Sports journalists and journalists in general were skeptical, angry, because this wasn't the Olympic movement.
The Olympic ideal had always been about amateur competition. which meant the United States had always sent basketball teams made up of college kids. Teams that dominated for decades. In 1972, the Soviet Union was awarded a victory over the U.S. in a controversial gold medal game.
The United States apparently had won the game, but the debate still goes on.
To this day, that American team still hasn't claimed their silver medals. But that result seemed like a fluke when the Americans got the gold in their next two Olympic appearances.
U.S. has its 9th gold medal.
While the U.S. celebrated, though, the rest of the world was catching up. So in 1988, when the Soviets won again, there was no talk of any fluke.
The United States goes home with a semifinal loss to the bigger, more experienced USSR team.
I was embarrassed. I know some of the guys left their medals there in the room. They didn't want to take them home. And here we are, USA on our chest, and we didn't get the job done.
But the amateur ideal had gotten muddled. While NBA players were prohibited from Olympic competition, professionals from other leagues abroad could play.
If you played in Europe for money, you were an amateur, but if you played in the NBA for money, you were a professional. And so our players weren't eligible.
Those other countries were using pros, playing against 18, 19-year-old kids. That is really unfair.
Changing the hypocrisy, though, was a central goal of a European named Boris Stankovic, the head of FIBA, the World Basketball Federation.
He was very much intent on lifting basketball up to the highest possible level of international sports. And if the whole world knew that the very best players in the world were not participating in the Olympics, that made it a second-class event.
So in 1989, Stankovic issued a resolution to allow pros from all leagues to compete in the Olympics. But back in America, the NBA was lukewarm to the idea.
We wanted to be good partners with FIBA to grow the sport of basketball, but we weren't particularly anxious. We didn't know what it would mean. We didn't know if our players would want to do it. We didn't know what the logistics were, but the vote passed, and NBA players were eligible for the Olympics.
Now the issue wasn't about whether American pros could play, but whether the best players wanted to play.
The one guy that, that we were a little concerned about was probably Michael.
The thought back then was Michael Jordan plays 36 holes of golf 90 days during the summer. What the hell is he going to be doing playing basketball?
I was hoping they would not ask me to participate. And I was trying to figure out a way graciously that I could decline. I'd done the Olympic thing before, and when Rod Thorne called me and asked me, I wasn't gung-ho about it.
My appeal to him was, you're the top player in the world. This is bigger than the NBA Finals, and, we need you. His thing, well, who else is playing? I mean, are all the good players going to play? I'm not going to play by myself.
So Michael Jordan waited to hear more, and Rod Thorne made his next call.
It was a no-brainer for me. I was in from day one. And I figured if I jumped in first and said I wanted to play, that would get guys to want to participate as well.
I think if Magic wasn't on that team, I don't think it would have been as spectacular as it was. And to finish out our careers, that was important for both of us.
Once you get guys like Magic and Larry committing to the team, then all of a sudden it becomes something very, very special.
Yeah, y'all already know what's going to happen. Magic and Larry, oh yeah, we definitely going now. You know that was coming.
Representing the USA is already a tremendous honor, but to know that you're going to be on a dream team is a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Magic, Bird, and David Robinson weren't alone in their pride.
They called in the big guns. We're the Navy SEALs that we had to go over there and kick butts and take names.
With those stars and the Utah Jazz tandem of John Stockton and Karl Malone, the dream team was starting to take shape.
It don't matter if you call me last.
I got the call.
I didn't feel like that I deserved to be called, but I truly wasn't going to tell them that.
I was like, yeah, I'm in. I didn't even think to say who else was on the team. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Yes.
Charles Barkley's ability was never in question, but his attitude was.
God want us to win the world championship.
I don't know if I go that far, Charles.
No, I talked to him the other night.
I learned early in Philadelphia. It doesn't matter what I say. So from this day forward, I'm gonna say what the hell I wanna say. And some people are gonna like it, and some people are gonna dislike it.
But after a series of incidents on and off the court, the least of the committee's concerns were about what Barkley would say.
I was asked to talk to him. He was so honored that we would even think about asking him. He convinced me that you won't have any problems with me.
Now, with the team nearly complete, Rod Thorne had enough talent secured to go back to where he started.
Representing my country was a big thing, but I think, the biggest motivation for me was now I get to spend time with some of the guys I compete against all the time.
Portland's Clyde Drexler rounded out the list of NBA players, while the final spot on the roster was reserved for an amateur, Duke's Christian Laettner, coming off back-to-back NCAA titles.
There's the pass to Laettner. Puts it up. Yes!
In any other Olympic year, Laettner might have been the team's biggest star, but on this team, he was fine with being the last guy on the bench.
I tell people this all the time, and it may shock them, but my most enjoyable year was my freshman year because they don't expect nothing from you except carry the luggage, do the laundry, and get our donuts. And that's easy. The harder thing is to be the leader.
By May of 1991, 2 months before the Olympics, the team was set. One college kid and 11 future Hall of Famers. The man charged with putting it all together was the unflappable Chuck Daly.
Okay, all set?
I'm set.
Chuck looked the part. He was the guy that looked like he owned the arena, but he would also push the broom.
His hair was beautiful. His suits were immaculate. He wanted to win, but he wanted to look good.
As the head coach of the Detroit Pistons, Daly did both, winning back-to-back championships in 1989 and 90.
The Pistons are winners and still champions of the world.
The Pistons were nicknamed the Bad Boys for their aggressive and some said dirty style of play, never more evident than in their memorable playoff battles with Michael Jordan's Bulls.
Michael on the move against Vinnie Johnson in the hoop. He is necktied. Oh. Michael Jordan goes down hard.
Detroit and Chicago had no love for each other.
So when Daly was named the Dream Team coach, many wondered how he'd handle working with the Bulls' biggest star.
I was being asked to wrestle with some demons and some issues.
But the coach was well acquainted with the task of managing personalities.
He coached the bad boys. And if you can coach those, you can coach anybody.
One player Daly wouldn't be coaching in the Olympics, however, was his own star in Detroit, point guard Isiah Thomas, who controversially had been left off the team's roster.
No matter how much people try to say now, it was no big a deal. It was a big deal.
I talked to Isiah at the beginning of the year about the aspect he wasn't on the team, and he was not comfortable with it. I'm sure he is very hurt. He's a very deserving player, but he was not selected.
Thomas was well on his way to a Hall of Fame career, but was also seen by many as the biggest cultivator of the bad boys image in Detroit.
And now Isiah Thomas and Hartweiler swinging.
Isiah was the general. He was the guy that would yap at his teammates and say, knock him on the ass, do whatever you got to do.
A beautiful backdoor pass from Pippen, and he is walloped. He knew he was going to get hit.
I despised the way that he played the game.
Did you want him on the Dream Team?
No, I did not want him on the team.
Did Michael? Did you want him on the team?
Well, I can't speak for Michael, but I don't think he wanted him on the team.
Now, there has been speculation that your icy relationship with Isiah Thomas is the reason that he was not selected. What is your reaction to that?
That was one of the stipulations put to me prior to me even committing, that Isiah wasn't a part of the team. I was getting strong innuendos that it wasn't just, it was coming from higher places that didn't want Isiah Thomas on the team.
Certainly things are being pointed at me because of our relationship and of course about the way that the end of the game between Detroit and Chicago ended.
We were picking the group just after the Pistons had been eliminated by the Bulls, and it was very bad timing for Isiah. Everybody had fresh in their mind the picture of Isiah walking off the court.
Pistons wasting no time in getting out of here. They left the bench, although there's 7 and 9/10 seconds remaining. The Pistons just left.
When the Pistons walked off the court before the final bell, I think it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
All right, no Isiah Thomas stuff.
No Isiah Thomas questions.
Cool.
Jordan and the team were done answering questions about Isiah.
Yo, I did not know it went that deep, man. I think somebody did mention in my comments about Isiah and the Dream Team. That's crazy, bro. So now I see why his little short ass ain't getting. He crazy, bro. Now I see why Bird fired his ass.
But with training camp approaching, a bigger question would need to be answered.
Hello, how you doing?
How would the 12 stars that were selected play together?
Welcome.
Training camp began on June 22nd, 1992, in La Jolla, California. And when the gym doors opened, no one was quite sure what to expect, especially the players themselves.
It's a lot of egos in one gym and on one team. Everybody wanted their form to shine and showcase why they were a part of this team.
With all these stars on the team, if it comes down to the last shot, who's gonna take the shot?
Me. Everybody in the world has an ego. The only difference between us, we have a reason to have an ego.
Every one of us felt like we was everybody. And when practice started that first day, every player seemed to be trying to prove just how great they were.
It was a very competitive practice, and I'm thinking, aren't we all on the same team?
Patrick go, I don't want to play with David, I want to play against him. And you hear Michael say, I don't want to be on Magic's team, I want to play against him.
Every evaluation of Michael Jordan at that time was, he's good, but he's never Magic Johnson. In my competitive nature, I want to use every little bit that I could gather so that I can gain an advantage.
Karl Malone, he's the only guy I would even compare to myself at the power forward position. So I want to prove that I was the best power forward in the world.
Charles. Yo, that is crazy, bro. I just want to see some of their practices, man. I gotta see some of their practices.
Yeah, he's a great talent. Do I think he's better than me? Hell no. So let's do this. By the time this over with, you're gonna be thinking I'm damn good too.
The first practice, Barkley drives baseline and Karl Malone jumps up like this. Barkley just dunked on him so hard. It was just an unbelievable play. I felt like, man, I cannot believe that I'm part of this practice.
A few days later, the team had a chance to acclimate themselves to playing on the same side. Chuck Daly had scheduled a scrimmage against a select group of college players, a group thrilled to be facing off against their idols.
I found out today I might be picking up Magic a little bit full court, so, things are just happening for me that really makes me happy.
My whole thought process was don't embarrass yourself, and that was like the theme for me, like just hang in there.
A lot of those people that I've looked up to, Barkley, Malone, a lot of those people talk confidence, and I think it's going to be a good matchup, There's no advantage on either side.
For the college players, it was a chance to see how they'd match up against the world's best. For Coach Daly, it was an opportunity to get his stars to grow into a single unit.
I think we're somewhere between the mentality of an all-star game and trying to come together as a team. So we've got to continually work on this.
Daly had been hired for his ability to manage personalities and egos. And when the scrimmage began, it became apparent that his players had left one of their biggest weapons, those egos, somewhere else.
The non-fan would think, well, they're going to go in there and they're each going to want their own ball, and Jordan's going to be hogging the ball, and, you know, Magic's going to be dribbling all over the place. Point of fact, it was the exact opposite. They overpassed.
It was like, I don't want to start it off. You know, you do it. And before you realize it, the select team was beating us by 10.
We didn't know how to play with each other. We didn't want to step on anybody's toes or hurt any egos. So these young kids, they were killing us.
We were not into it, and we paid for it.
Chris Webber was a man. I thought, boy, that's the guys coming this league, I could get out of here.
Bobby Hurley was dominant.
I did have some success penetrating and collapsing the defense, and our energy, our excitement to play, all those things played in our favor.
Bobby Hurley didn't play 2 seasons in the NBA. Nevertheless, it did expose the one weakness they could have had, which is defending against quick guards.
They were playing great. Then I noticed that Michael Jordan's not playing.
I'm saying something. Chuck, then he said, we're all right. Yeah, we're all right.
Daly watched as his players failed to make up the deficit. And in their first taste of outside competition, the Dream Team lost. A story their coach didn't want the press to get their hands on.
I remember Chuck saying, as soon as the game ended and we were getting ready to let media in, it was erase the scoreboard.
Media comes in, scores, if not hundreds. They can sense something. You can feel the tension, or you can feel something in the air.
Well, some of these college players we've just got through playing against probably should be on this team, but they'll get their chance.
The teams posed for a picture together, both not sure what to make of what had just happened. But the man in charge may have had the answer.
He threw the game. You know, Chuck threw the game. If you look how much Jordan played and how he subbed guys in, not picking up, not making any adjustments, he knew what he was doing.
It was legit. It felt tremendous. You know, what we were doing that day, you know, they couldn't stop it.
There are kids who believe in Santa Claus too, and the Easter Bunny, and now that they've grown up, I hate to burst their bubble, but it was a game thrown. Not many people would have done it, and he did it.
It was gratifying to Chuck for us to get our butts beat like that, because now we had to listen to him.
From then on, he had a way of just saying, you know, you could lose.
After fixing his collars and his hair, his speech was, anybody can get beat, so you gotta be ready to play. And I think that's the only speech he ever gave us.
The message got across. I mean, you know, Chuck couldn't have been happier, I'm sure.
It was brilliant on Chuck's part to be able to orchestrate that and play along like he didn't.
Why didn't he tell you guys?
We probably would have screwed it up.
The next day, training camp ended with a rematch against the college kids. And once play started, everything made sense again.
The tables were turned drastically.
We showed them why we are who we are.
We pretty much beat them by 100.
They couldn't score. And by the way, Jordan played a lot more that next scrimmage.
Before the Dream Team could play in the 1992 Olympics, they had to qualify. The place to do that was Portland, Oregon, and the Tournament of the Americas. It would be the public's first chance to see the NBA stars together in a game, especially Jordan, Bird, and Magic. Daly had asked all three to be team captains, but Jordan had turned him down.
I knew how much it meant to both of those guys because they never had the opportunity to play on the Olympics. So I said, you know what, Chuck, don't worry about me. You know, let these old dogs do it.
Magic and Bird weren't just the team's oldest players. They were also the most revered. They had entered the league together in 1979, embarking on a rivalry that had redefined the NBA. And along the way, their personal admiration for one another had grown.
Magic's just a great basketball player. He's the best I've ever seen, you know. Unbelievable. I don't know what to say.
In 1992, they'd be getting the chance to share the ball. But the opportunity would be coming at the end of their careers. Bird had given his soul to the game. But after so many years, his body was betraying him.
Had back problems. It just gets to the point where you just couldn't play. I mean, you couldn't think, couldn't move, couldn't run. You know, if you can't feel your feet, it's hard to run.
Larry was on the fence because of his back, so I said, man, LB, you gotta play, man. You gotta play. This is our last chance to be together.
Magic would be able to convince his old friend to play. But at the start of the 1991-92 NBA season, he was forced to retire after learning he had the HIV virus. Doctors would eventually clear him to play in the Olympics, though that didn't stop fears from swirling.
There's a lot of players that really didn't want him to play, didn't want to play with him or against him, because nobody knew what disease meant. You know, they say you get a little blood on you, you got HIV, or you breathe on you, you know. I never bought any of that, you know. You just keep going. And that's what Earvin decided to do, just keep pushing, keep going.
6, 5, 3-pointer, yes, oh my!
Magic had made a cameo in the 1992 All-Star Game and had focused his attention on the Olympics, hoping for an encore of a lifetime alongside his old rival.
Our careers were really over, and it was something I thought needed to happen for both of us.
Their debut would take place at Portland's Rose Garden, with their team needing to medal in the Tournament of the Americas to qualify for the Olympics. That seemed like a foregone conclusion to just about everyone, including their first opponents, who were completely in awe before the game even started.
The Cuban team spontaneously drops to its knees as if 12 popes had come by on Easter Sunday. At that point, the idea that this is merely a basketball game has been ripped asunder.
It was a surreal feeling. She's like, dude, we're here to kick y'all behind. And they want to take pictures with you.
Then the game begins. Magic and Larry come out together, two guys that had saved the league. They wouldn't even be playing this game without those two. And Magic passed the ball. Larry makes the first basket.
Forward banking in, goes to the fadeaway.
I mean, you know, it just didn't get any better than that.
The U.S. was off and running, and the result was a thing of beauty.
Johnson leading the break, finds Robinson.
And no one seemed more excited to be sharing the court than the co-captains.
Bird for 3.
Opening night was a smashing success, with the outcome never in doubt.
Bullet from Magic to Portland.
And late in the game, the fans in Portland decided they wanted a curtain call from a 3-time MVP.
The crowd start cheering, Larry, Larry, Larry.
Crowd reacts to the entrance of Larry Bird, a standing ovation.
And as he'd done so many other times in his career, Larry Bird rose to the occasion.
Jordan with the behind-the-back save. Here's Bird. Yes.
You just knew that Larry Bird was not going to miss that shot.
It was a virtually flawless performance. The final margin of victory was 77 points. And Magic and Bird had led the way. For Magic in particular, after a year out of the game, the victory had a special kind of meaning.
Living with HIV never even thinking that I would ever have a chance to play basketball again, and then basketball for the United States. It was therapy for me, and I needed that in the worst way.
And then there was the matter of making sure Michael Jordan knew he was back as well.
Yeah, you hear what the captain said? The captain said, sit down, or this boat is gonna sink.
That's right, have a seat, because you're gonna fall, and then that's gonna happen.
That's the seniority right there.
I know it.
With Magic and Michael, there was that little extra something there, you know, and something kind of to prove to each other.
I took it upon myself to always shoot with Michael. Okay, MJ, free throws today. Who was the first one to 50? Or we had little games, who was the better shooter?
You know what you gotta do. Know what you gotta do. Here we go.
He didn't want to relinquish that control of the 80s, in a sense, even though we were going into the 90s.
Don't touch the phone. One hand, don't touch it. Dang! Don't touch
You know, he just come off missing a whole year. So it was who can win, who's gonna have the bragging rights by the end of this trip.
You can't get too close to Michael, it's a foul. You haven't committed a foul in almost a year and a half, man. How can you talk?
Michael's always tried to let people know that he's the top dog in whatever. That's just his competitive mode.
I'm the young guy with the elder statesman. These old guys, they got arthritis. They can't stand in one spot too long.
He's a young puppy. I'm the big dog here. Whatever I say goes.
While the winner of Magic and Michael's "Can You Top This" challenge remained in doubt, when it came to facing the competition in the Tournament of the Americas, the team stood united.
When we took the court in Portland, which, you know, we're on home ground, we wanted to showcase to the fans who would be representing them.
The lead is 30. Steele. Jordan.
I'm gonna send a message around the world today that y'all can give it up. You foreigners can give it up.
Mullen with the steal. Stockton and Mullen goes the other way. Stockton set him up perfectly.
The Americans won their 6 games at the tournament by an average of 50 points.
All right, Larry, your impressions of tonight's game.
The gold medal was no surprise. But what was unexpected was the team's interactions with their opponents, who showered them with adulation before, after, and even during games.
Magic Johnson and Oranga shaking hands after the shot.
The Tournament of the Americas had served its purpose. The U.S. had qualified for the Barcelona Games and given the world its first glimpse of what was coming later that summer.
I want to say this is just a small step in what our goal really is, to get to Barcelona, win the gold medal, and bring it back where it's supposed to be. Thank you.
On July 18th, 1992, with the Barcelona Olympics a week away, the U.S. men's basketball team headed overseas.
Straight back into the left, private room, follow Urban.
They would hold several days of practice in Monte Carlo and play one more tune-up before heading to the Olympics. The luxurious setting on the Mediterranean Sea was fitting for what already may have been the world's most famous team.
Monte Carlo is one of those glamorous cities, and here we were with the most glamorous team ever. So it's kind of a rock star-ish kind of a thing.
The players were relaxed and confident, and willing to admit there was more to the trip than just basketball.
I don't worry about playing basketball. That comes natural. I just want to have fun. David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Michael Jordan. This is like spring break in the ghetto.
The opulent resort town was a playground waiting to be explored. And the players weren't shy about enjoying themselves.
Are y'all filming me? Now look.
The scene in Monte Carlo was great. It was just breathtaking. I was down on the beach, just kind of trying to enjoy some of the scenery. Look at this. It's paradise.
I think every team in the NBA should train here, actually. They need to get a team here.
Every day we got back to practice, we made a beeline to the swimming pool because all those girls were laying out topless.
I'm gonna be in that pool so much the next 2 days. I don't think I'm on the swimming team in Barcelona.
We're all out there with our significant others and all these women walking around topless coming, can I have an autograph? So I signed it and Michael pops me and tells us, see, usually you tell everybody no, but because this lady coming over topless, you gonna sign her autograph. My wife looking at me like.
The best part about it was Patrick Ewing buying the beer at the pool. You know, $7 a beer, I never heard of that. Of course, Patrick didn't drink, he didn't know how much beer was.
One thing you don't want to do is drink beer with Larry Bird. And Larry Bird drinks Budweiser, which Budweiser is the strongest beer in the world. And my head hurt for like 2 days.
They were used to being opponents, but Monte Carlo was proving to be the perfect place to find common ground.
I got the coach, that means we get to go first.
Michael Jordan enjoys his golf, as did Chuck Daly.
I got the coach with me, man. I got carte blanche, you know what I mean?
Michael and Chuck played almost every single day, if not every day.
Come off the hill. That may be green, Chuck.
Chuck was playing his practice schedule around our golf time. That, to me, was ideal. Play a little bit of basketball, play a little golf, and you're in Monte Carlo.
Yeah, it bounce like a basketball.
The relationship that a head coach has with his main guy is incredibly important. Chuck's ability to get Michael is amazing because think of how bitter enemies they had to be. Chuck devised the defense that drove Jordan out of his mind. And yet, here they are playing golf together.
Jordan could really have unbelievably bad feelings towards Chuck. Chuck understood that, and he embraced them.
Chuck, yeah. How many I gotta give you today? Huh? How many I gotta give you?
We shoot 72. I watched that.
That was a bonding thing for me and Chuck. Always been a thing that I treasure just as much as being a part of the team.
For Jordan, golf was only one part of the whirlwind schedule, which his teammates were discovering was just the way he liked it.
What are you doing today, Amdrad? What you gonna do? You wanna sleep?
I remember thinking that. Does this guy ever sleep?
Golf, 36 holes. I'm playing it tomorrow, too.
He would do more things and be ready to practice and play as much as anybody.
Michael Jordan.
The thing that I remember the most was going out and playing golf with Michael Jordan before a game. And I thought, and I'm going to be exhausted tonight. And Michael just had ridiculous energy and was phenomenal. I felt like I was running in quicksand a little bit. And so, it gave me a whole nother level of respect for kind of the freak of nature that he really is.
Grab and play the food, Jim.
We played cards in Magic's room till 5 o'clock in the morning pretty much every night. It was so much fun.
Right, homie?
Yeah, I'm tired.
He's like a bionic guy, or he'd play cards, play golf, play basketball.
Jordan going all the way.
I don't know when he ever slept. Finally, after a ball game, he was just lying down. And I looked at him, I said, I think that's the first time he's gone to sleep on the whole trip.
After a few days in Monte Carlo, the players returned to the court for an exhibition against the French national team.
Everybody had their eyes on one team. We could feel that it was just such talent and such incredible skill, and it was just such a pleasure to watch.
The Americans won the game easily, even if their performance was far short of seamless.
It wasn't a great game. A lot of sloppy passing. I didn't like any of it.
It was a terrible game, and U.S. looked half interested. And so Chuck kind of the next morning in Monte Carlo, even though everybody was a little hungover and tired, had to really kick their butt.
Chuck says, okay, this is what's gonna happen. We're gonna play it like a real game. We're gonna play 4 quarters.
We had me, Scotty, Mullins, Bird, and Patrick, and Magic had his 5. We weren't gonna change that team at no point in time. You got your 5, I got my 5.
We gave them the college guy. You can have Christian Laettner. We don't want him, you can have him.
He's just over there waiting to tag in. But it was about pride, and the college kid couldn't help either one of the teams.
Michael Jordan called Clyde out and went at him. Tell him, this is what I'm gonna do to you. Fall away jumper, good. What did I tell you? So I said, no, Clyde, you better get him back. You better get him back. Charles Barkley said, I want to take Karl Malone now. So Charles gets it, fall away jumper, good. I said, Karl, you gotta get him back. You better go down there and get him back. Karl went right at him, jump shot. You ain't nothing, Barkley. So then I came down.
His energy is real high. He feels like he's in an opportunity to prove himself. And showcase that, hey, look, I'm still Magic Johnson. I still dominate this game.
That's all right. That's all right. We go from here.
Magic was saying, you ain't the guy, and we got other players in this gym.
Don't be cheating on me.
Doesn't take much to get Michael going. Just a little something to tweak him, and it's on.
He never liked to lose. Mike always got that look. When you see that look, then you know, just give him the damn ball and get out the way.
As much as it was 5-on-5, you could see in Monte Carlo that it was gravitating towards, okay, Michael and Magic.
Magic was hesitant to surrender his place on the mountaintop. And Michael, being Michael, he needed to say, no, I'm on the top of the mountain now.
Magic was saying, look, NBA's not yours yet. You know, I'm still here. Michael's like, no, it's over. This is mine. And the funny thing was Larry was sitting on the side, going, it's his.
Chuck realized the competition aspect was getting a little bit too high.
Killing everybody on our squad.
He wanted to end practice, but Magic didn't want to end because he wanted to keep playing because we just kicked his ass.
How you like that ass kicking we gave you?
No. Come on now.
Well, y'all got the first quarter of practice.
By the time practice was over, even Magic had to acknowledge basketball's landscape had been changed forever.
Larry and I were talking, and Michael walks in, and he says, "There's a new sheriff in town." And we both hit each other like, well, he's not lying.
Monte Carlo was kind of a turning point. Walls started to come down from, when you're playing against each other, you have these rivalries. These are my teammates now. They're guys that, that I'm looking towards for support. It seemed like we became more friends than anything else.
The players were off to Barcelona, headed to the Olympics, unmistakably as a team.
All right, y'all, I'm going to end it here. Damn, we went good in this one. Yeah, definitely going to look out for the part 2 definitely coming. It might not be a part 3. It's going to be a part 2. And plus, I'll be honest, it's getting late for me. So, yeah, it's actually 1 in the morning right now for me. I'm definitely going to probably still upload this video. But, yeah, man, y'all not keep it short and sweet. This is a good, oh, man, I'm glad we did this one. This is excellent day. Excellent. But, yeah, definitely look out for the part 2, y'all. But, yeah, man, y'all know I keep it short and sweet. Got an instrumental mixtape dropping June 23rd. And, yeah, that's about it, man. Let's look out for part 2. I'm out, y'all. Love y'all. Peace.